Hey, um, I have to go out in a little while, and I haven't been around for the last few days. Just been kind of busy, and I want to talk about this presidential debate that took place last night, September 29th, um, between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. All I will say that it was a circus for what I've heard. I didn't actually see the debate, but for what a lot of people have been saying, it was pretty much a circus, and they were both ass clowns. Of course, that I was not particularly surprised about, but suffice to say, I do need to talk about something that might be a little more urgent than the debate last night, and it pertains to the election. And one of the reasons that really the only reason that I would be voting for Joe Biden is the courts. The courts are everything, people. They're everything. They're for your First Amendment rights. There are cases dealing with right to privacy. And Kyle Kalinske said this the other day about the courts. What if the Congress, the U.S. House, U.S. Senate, um, basically agreed to enact Medicare for all, and that Joe Biden could be convinced to sign the legislation to make Medicare for all available, and then we finally join the family of nations around the world, industrialized Western democratic capitalist countries around the world that have one form or another of single payer. What happens if that's taken to the courts and a right leaning court um, says Medicare for all unconstitutional? I mean, that that is what is at stake right now. So I would say, as I said to myself, um, I will be voting for Joe Biden, not because I like Joe Biden. I will say it. I'll say it again. I'm going to vote for a man I despise, and that is Joe Biden. I hate Joe Biden, but I'm going to vote for Joe Biden. And part of the reason I'm going to vote for Joe Biden is, and I said it before, do it for Ruth Bader Ginsburg, which means that is more significant now than it's ever been. But a friend of mine in New York and I agreed to vote swapping. I would normally vote green in this election, as I do most of the time. I usually vote for one Green Party candidate or another, or a Socialist Party candidate or another. Usually, a third party presidential candidate on the left is what I usually vote for. This year is different, but I will donate to Howie Hawkins' campaign because I like Howie Hawkins and I believe in what he stands for with the Green Party. But a friend of mine is going to vote for Howie Hawkins in New York State. Now I'm going to vote for Joe Biden. So we're basically swapping votes. And that way, we prevent Trump from becoming president another term, hopefully, and that the Green Party could potentially be in a situation where they're recognized as a national party to be a serious force to be reckoned with politically. So that's everything's at stake. And for all the vote shamers out there that want to scoff at the Green Party, you will want the Green Party to do well, even if you want Biden to win. You will still want the Green Party to do well, um, because that will make a left that's stronger, certainly not weaker. But I digress. The Supreme Court is pretty much everything. So this is one of the many reasons I am going to go and hold my nose and vote for Joe Biden. But here's the thing. Here's the scenario. What if Donald Trump is defeated on November 3rd and he refuses to step down in January because he thinks that the election was stolen from him? What happens at that point? And that's another reason why the Supreme Court needs to to not have one more right wing whack job. That means that Amy Coney Barrett needs to be defeated at all costs. I'm not going to be nice about it. She needs to fucking be defeated at all costs. You got to do everything you can and call your senators and you let them know that you do not want Amy Coney Barrett to be nominated to the court in order to save our democracy or our representative republic. Our concept of a free society. If you want to save our society from actual authoritarianism, you got to stop this Supreme Court justice right now from being confirmed in the U.S. Senate because this is a power grab right now. This is a power grab. The power grab from Trump is and with his helper in the Senate, Mitch McConnell. So we got to do what we can to stop this from happening. And let me tell you, people, something. I'm preaching to the choir with my fellow lefties saying this, but if there's anybody who's conservative that's not a never Trumper, that's pro-Trump, and I'm not going to say every person who votes for Trump is a terrible person per se, but I am going to say this for those who are reasonable that are inclined to vote for Trump. You got to realize that Donald Trump is an authoritarian. I mean, there's no if, ands, or buts. He wants to harmonize the libel laws in the United States. I mentioned this before, but he wants to harmonize the libel laws with the libel laws in Great Britain. Great Britain doesn't particularly have freedom of speech. They're pretty bad about that. And Donald Trump pretty much wants to make the United States like Great Britain in terms of freedom of speech. And we do not need to be like Great Britain. The one area we do not need to be like Great Britain. Oh, we need to be like Great Britain when it comes to healthcare, the National Health Service. Yeah, I mean, that's where I want to be like the British. I don't want to be like the British when it comes to issues of censorship. But he wants to harmonize the libel laws with that of Great Britain. A Supreme Court ruling that's a settled issue, and he's bringing it back up again. And I'm not particularly a fan of flag desecration. I think it's pretty nasty myself. But I do not think that you should go to jail for a year and lose your citizenship because you burn the American flag. And if you buy your own flag and you're not violating fire codes or what have you, you have a right to do whatever the hell you want with a piece of cloth that you purchase. So where's this property rights that I keep hearing from the ultra conservatives when well, I guess it doesn't apply to the flag. So I mean, as I said, the freedom of speech is not there to the First Amendment doesn't exist to be for speech that we're all for or indifferent of. It's supposed to be there to protect the speech that you and me and anybody else may find offensive. And there's all kinds of worldviews and positions that are offensive to all kinds of people from all perspectives all around the country. And the best way to deal with that is to have the First Amendment and keep the First Amendment and never infringe on the rights of the First Amendment under any circumstances, with the possible exception of, let's say, yelling fire in a theater, crowded theater. I mean, that'll be about the only kind of limitations I would favor. Donald Trump is in favor of a national anti-BDS law, the Anti-Boycott Israel Act. No matter where you stand on the issue of Israel, putting people in prison for urging people to boycott Israel sucks. I mean, and I just do not think that you should be put in jail and for 20 years for advocating a boycott, disinvestment, and sanctions against the state of Israel. If you are urging a boycott against Chinese-made products, or people trying to boycott, products, from whatever country they find objectionable. You should not sit there and look at Israel and make an exception for them. And this has nothing to do with whether you think Israel is an awesome country or if it's a sack of shit. It has to do with the First Amendment. And Donald Trump wants to put people in prison for engaging in the boycott campaign against Israel. The Insurrection Act. And I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I'm going to keep it real. Fox News is full of crap when they tell people that when they act like every major city is burning down every night with all this so-called breakdown of law and order. Really, there's no breakdown of law and order as they suggested. I mean, yes, there are civil unrest going on or what have you, but imposing or enacting the Insurrection Act to go and basically have the United States government do a military invasion of the United States sucks, and it sucks ass. And Trump is for the Insurrection Act, and if you're a good freedom-loving American, you will oppose the Insurrection Act. What Trump broke his campaign promise about foreign intervention, claiming that he's against all these Middle Eastern wars. And what did he do several months ago? He had the military murder a high-ranking Iranian general, a General Salami, I cannot pronounce his name, but you know who I'm talking about, I think. The fact that man has fought the same enemies that the United States consider enemies. We're talking about ISIS. Remember, a lot of people don't seem to understand when it comes to Middle Eastern politics that the entire region has competing factions. Yeah, there's a lot to be desired about Iran. They're a terrible government. Nobody's disputing that. But you know what? Saudi Arabia is 100 times worse than Iran. And, Iran does not, they hardly engage in terrorism against the West. Saudi Arabia engages in terrorism against the West consistently. But the United States goes around and buddy up with Saudi Arabia and act like Iran is the worst country in the world. He promised to not have an aggressive policy in the Middle East, and this murdering one of the top generals in another country. That is something that I don't even think that Bush and Cheney would have done. And you know how much I despise Bush and Cheney. And let's not forget the bullying of Venezuela. Venezuela, again, an oil-rich country, maybe the government is authoritarian, but while the Maduro government may be authoritarian, come on now, you think that they're more authoritarian than the government of Saudi Arabia, another oil-rich country? If you lived in Venezuela, you're not going to get executed for urging women to drive. Saudi Arabia executed the women activists that fought for the right of women to drive. Venezuela is not going to execute you because you're a homosexual. Being gay or lesbian will get you the death penalty in Saudi Arabia. Leaving the religion of Islam will get you the death penalty in Saudi Arabia. In Venezuela, they don't give a shit if you worship or you don't worship. So you're going to tell me that Venezuela is more authoritarian than Saudi Arabia, and the United States is going around sucking Saudi Arabia's dick all the time? I mean, it's like, well, it's like what Tulsi Gabbard says. Donald Trump is basically Saudi Arabia's bitch, and she's right. He's a damn cuck for damn Saudi Arabia, an authoritarian country. So but what worries me is that, getting back to the Supreme Court nominee, is that the Democrats would allow. identity politics to allow her, Amy Coney Barrett, into the courts. And what I mean by that is the fact that she's a woman, an accomplished woman, and all of that. And so they don't want to look. They're probably going to want to look like they're beating up on an accomplished woman. Um, by that logic, I mean, are we supposed to look at someone like Sarah Palin or Michelle Bachmann or someone like the late Phyllis Schlafly or Margaret Thatcher in Great Britain and look at them and be like, oh, we got to go and honor them because they're accomplished ladies? No, you wouldn't. I mean, you wouldn't, and you shouldn't with Barrett. Amy Coney Barrett. Now, I'm not going to sit there and want to smear the damn woman or what have you. I just don't want her in the courts. I want to delay this as much as possible. And even if somehow if Trump wins this election and he's legitimately going to be our president for the next 4 years, I want the Democrats, if they have any gonads, to go and do everything they can to stop this woman from being in the Supreme Court or any of the Trump appointees, even if that seat remains empty. And if Biden somehow wins and there is a comfortable Senate majority for the Democrats and in the House, I want you go and add anywhere from 4 to 6 more seats in the court to make damn sure that this country to prevent another power grab. I know sounds overreaching, but I think that there's a better chance for the country to remain relatively stable and remain a free society, a representative democracy, if we add a couple of more Supreme Courts under a Democratic president to make damn sure that the Republican right doesn't do a power grab against the United States, because our democracy is hanging on a balance. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got to say about that. And if you like what you heard, press like, comment, even if you hate what I had to say. Um, First Amendment absolutists, it's my duty to inform you that if you have a platform and you're passionate about something, please utilize it because we're the muckrakers of our time. And feel free to share the content of this channel, subscribe, and that's pretty much it. And I am American Social Democracy. Once again, to remind you to subscribe and let you know peace and Bernie Sanders for president in the year 2024.